Riddle me this. What nefarious member of Batman's iconic rogues gallery is set to make a return to the silver screen in Matt Reeves' The Batman?
They have to match wits with the Riddler.
The Riddler made his debut in Detective Comics number 140 by Bill Finger and Dick Sprang in October of 1948, and has withstood the test of time to become one of Batman's most iconic adversaries. He is a character that has an obsessive compulsion to incorporate elaborate riddles and puzzles in his attempts to prove his superiority to society, the police, and most importantly, to the Batman. Edward Nygma, the name of the character, is even a play on his obsession with puzzles, though in some parts of DC's long history it is implied that his birth name is Edward Nashton, and that he legally changed his name to Nigma because of his love of riddles. The character is usually seen in a domino mask in either a skin-tight leotard littered with question marks or a green suit paired with a bowler hat. The Riddler started off very campy, dedicated to his character gimmick of challenging the Dark Knight detective with brain-teasing riddles. Like many Batman characters, his backstory has become darker and more fleshed out over the years, turning his love of puzzles and intelligence into an illness and a compulsion. But where does his story begin? The Riddler has a few different origins, but they all start with him growing up in an abusive or broken home. Though his IQ was high, his parents would force him to suppress it with severe beatings out of feelings of jealousy and inferiority. Eddie is a boy who is highly inquisitive, always seeking answers and asking questions that his parents don't care to entertain. They ignore him and are more focused on fighting with each other. He asked other adults at the time, including the school crossing guard, but none of them were able to give him the answers he wanted. It is at this moment that Edward became determined to be the man with the answers, even if he had to make up the questions. At school, Eddie is smart, but he is ignored by the other children, even the school bullies. His teacher constantly refers to him as Freddy instead of Eddie, and he wants to stand out, to be seen, but he doesn't know how. That is when his teacher announces a contest to be held in class over who can solve a puzzle the fastest. Eddie becomes instantly set on winning the contest by any means necessary. He is desperate for the glory and attention of his peers that victory will grant him. He breaks into the school at night and practices putting the puzzle together repeatedly until he could do it in under 1 minute. Nigma easily wins the contest and is rewarded with a book of riddles as his prize. He soon realizes that all of the glory was momentary because a week later he was a nobody again. Except now, the school bullies began to notice him. The book he won became a doorway to the young boy as he practiced all the riddles in the book until he knew them like the back of his hand. He attempted to impress the kids in his school with all the tricks he learned, but they would continue to bully him, being mad that they were unable to figure out how he was able to do these tricks. This did not hinder Edward's love of queries as he began to value intelligence over physical strength. We would catch up with Edward in his adult life, working a mundane job, feeling unsatisfied with what his life has become. He begins a life of crime by committing robberies, but even that is unfulfilling to him. There is no finesse in being a petty crook. It is just work, and Edward wants to be seen. He wants to show off his superior intellect. He decides he needs a gimmick, and he leans on his love and obsession with riddles. Thus, the Riddler is born. He begins his career leaving notes for the GCPD, creating a bit of a crime wave, waiting for someone to challenge him intellectually. One fateful evening, that challenge presents itself when the Riddler has his first run-in with the Batman. It is here that a new obsession is born, and Edward begins to work towards besting the Dark Knight, the person who is constantly matching his wits. Throughout his career of crime, the Riddler's gimmick becomes an illness, a compulsion, an obsession, and we see that he's incapable of committing crimes without leaving clues behind. The first instance of this being in Batman Volume 1, Issue 179, where the Riddler is physically unable to commit crimes without leaving behind a riddle or puzzle of some sort. This is explored in greater detail in issue number 11 of Batman Gotham Adventures, where the Riddler escapes from Arkham and decides that he never wants to get sent back. However, throughout the issue, he inadvertently leaves clues that link together to reveal his location. Once he realizes this, he says he must go back to Arkham because he accepts that he needs mental help. The Riddler has been a major part of Batman's rogues gallery throughout his career as he continued to pester Batman with his brain teasers. The Riddler has been featured in many of Batman's most iconic stories, including The Long Halloween and its sequel comic, Dark Victory. In Long Halloween, the Riddler is hired by Carmine, the Roman Falcone, to tell him the identity of the holiday killer. Falcone eventually loses his patience with Riddler and has his daughter throw him out on April 1st, aka April Fool's Day. Outside Falcone's, he is confronted by the holiday killer who fires several shots at him without hurting him, due to it being April Fools. The killer also leaves several items pertaining to their identity at the scene, leaving clues with the Riddler instead of the other way around. He plays a slightly larger role in the story's sequel, Batman Dark Victory, in which Batman turns to him to figure out the significance of the lost games of Hangman that are left at the scenes of the Hangman killer's crimes, showing that Batman does at least acknowledge his intelligence and his ability to solve puzzles. The Riddler continues to show up in comics over the years, becoming darker as time progresses. In one instance, he tries to trick Batman into performing tasks to complete a ritual to summon the demon Barbados. He appeared in an issue of The Question where he hijacked a bus and began asking riddles, killing and robbing anyone that got them wrong. The Question quickly subdues him by asking him philosophical riddles in return, and the Riddler was outwitted and had a nervous breakdown before being set free as a reward for getting one last riddle right. The Riddler has always been more cautious and rational than his fellow rogues. During the Batman crossover storyline No Man's Land, after Gotham City is ravaged by an earthquake and cut off from the rest of the country, Arkham Asylum frees its inmates. The Riddler elected to flee Gotham rather than stay behind in the lawless chaos that ensued. Unfortunately for him, it is during this time that he had a run-in with Black Canary and the Green Arrow and was easily defeated by the couple. Later down the line, the Riddler would find out that he has terminal brain cancer, and he would sneakily use one of Ra's al Ghul's Lazarus pits to heal himself. And in a moment of clarity after the psychotic break that occurs when you use the pit, the Riddler is able to deduce that Bruce Wayne is in fact Batman. He uses this information to approach Dr. Thomas Elliot, a childhood friend of Bruce whose mother has the same type of brain tumor Edward had. Riddler offers Dr. Elliot the chance to cure his mother in exchange for a large sum of money. However, Elliot is in fact eager for his mother to die to inherit her fortune. Thomas instead offers Riddler the money to help him get revenge on someone he has hated for a long time, his childhood pal, Bruce Wayne. This leads us into the storyline Batman Hush, where the two concoct a plan that brings together a large portion of Batman's rogues, including Killer Croc, the Joker, Harley Quinn, Clayface, Scarecrow, Talia al Ghul, Lady Shiva, the newly resurrected Jason Todd, and even a mind-controlled Superman. After Batman defeats Hush, the Riddler reveals that he knows his secret identity, and he threatens to reveal it to the world. However, the Caped Crusader mocked the threats as harmless. If Riddler revealed the answer to the riddle who is Batman, it would become worthless, something Riddler wouldn't be able to stand. Just for a little extra insurance, Batman warned the Riddler that if he did reveal his secret, he would give Ra's al Ghul a vital clue that he used his Lazarus pit without his permission, and the League of Assassins would subsequently retaliate against him. The Riddler's life begins to spiral after his failed scheme as he is beaten by Hush, humiliated by Poison Ivy in retaliation for using her, and essentially starts living amongst the homeless, before he is once again able to get back on his feet and restart his life of crime. After the events of Infinite Crisis, he wakes up from a coma, reformed, being cured of his insanity and his obsession with riddles, while retaining both his genius intellect and mammoth ego. He becomes a private detective and spends a nice amount of time trying to earn Batman's reluctant trust during the first case they work together, and does end up managing to save a girl's life. The Riddler would eventually hop off the path of recovery briefly, right before the DC Universe would be rebooted and relaunched in 2011's The New 52. In this continuity, the Riddler is the first costume villain that Batman faces off against in his crime-fighting career. Here, Edward Nygma, before the first appearance of the Batman, was the trusted strategist of Philip Kane, Bruce Wayne's uncle, and the CEO of Wayne Enterprises during Bruce's absence. When Bruce Wayne returned to Gotham and threatened to uproot all the shady plans Nygma had for Wayne Enterprises, Nygma sent the Red Hood gang after the prodigal son, only for the assassination attempt to fail. His position at Wayne Enterprises now compromised, Nygma departed to begin his endgame for Gotham. Having strategically calculated his plans for Gotham, Nygma, donning the alias the Riddler, cut the power throughout the entire city, telling the people that they would need to get smart or die. As the lights darkened in Gotham, Riddler kicked off what would later be called Zero Year. During this period, he's able to best the Batman twice and take control of Gotham, turning it into a flooded wasteland where only the intelligent were meant to survive. Although this version of the Riddler is many steps ahead of his future nemesis, he is eventually brought down by the combined efforts of Batman, Jim Gordon, and Lucius Fox, before he could truly destroy Gotham the way he intended. The Riddler's next major appearance was in the War of Jokes and Riddles storyline, where Batman retells an early conflict between the Riddler and the Joker. Finding that the Joker had lost his sense of humor, Riddler orchestrated a war between them to help him regain it. In DC's Earth 1 series of books, which are designed to reimagine heroes of the DC Universe, the Riddler is a serial killer who is obsessed with both riddles and with learning the answer to the ultimate riddle, the identity of the Batman. With long red hair, jeans, black boots, and a green jacket, this version of the character is not obsessed with finding answers, to most riddles. In fact, during his death games, he kills people regardless of whether they answer the riddles he poses correctly. His only real obsession is Batman. The Riddler continues to be a major player in the Batman mythos, being featured frequently in projects that have the Dark Knight detective. What the future holds for the character of Edward Nygma is indeed a mystery, which I personally cannot wait to see unfold. One thing is for certain, the Riddler has staked his claim as one of the greatest villains of all time, and he will continue to puzzle us for many years to come. If you like this video and you want to see more character origins, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button, and comment down below which origin you would like to see next. Until next time, guys.